What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Last video I commented any topics, matchups, or videos you wanted me to talk about. Okay, from Stray Cat we got, thanks for the clip. As a Leo user, I got a lot of help from watching the versus Johnny clip the other day. Can I get some advice on versus Bedman? It's too difficult for me. Next we got DD Destroyer, really interesting video. I never took this, setting the tone for the match mentality. It seems really good. Could you please talk about the Leo versus May or Leo versus Bedman matchups? I'm relatively new to this game and I fell in love with Leo. Gotcha. Next up we got Jet. It's been so long since I watched the matchup vid for him that I've forgotten everything. The shorter length was a nice touch. Yes, we're going to still be following through with shorter length videos. Anyone else you want to cover for matchups like Bedman or Oscar? Only if you think the guide is needed. Good vid, thanks. Yes, Jet, we're going to be doing the Bedman matchup for this video because that's what all three of these comments have in common. But we're going to throw in a little bonus one because Knight said, just here to say thanks for the guide. I've been struggling to deal with range matchups and zoners, and any tips? Sometimes it can feel so hard to close the gap just to get bursted and then have to start all over. So since Bedman is a zoner, I'm going to be giving you some general tips on how to deal with zoners. Okay, so I'm gonna be giving y'all 3 tips on how to deal with Bedman. 1, we're gonna learn how to deal with his block string pressure, some of the things that we could look out for and punish, and when to take your turn back. 2, we're gonna learn how to deal with his zoning, and then 3, I'm just gonna be giving y'all advice on zoners generally. We're gonna start off with Bedman's block string pressure. There's one thing to note when you're fighting Bedman is that he has no true way to keep himself safe when he ends his block strings with specials. It's always an exploitable gap there. First, we're going to start off with his guard crush. So you can punish his guard crush a lot of ways. It's very slow when it comes out and you can visually see it. So this gives you time to actually react to it. You can punish it with DP. You can even backdash out of this and get it punished that way using Wild Assault with 5H. Or you can even just do something simple, backdash, come back in with the 236S. So it's a lot of ways you could just exploit when he tried to go for his guard crush, even when you use the alternate route. So let's see, like when you use the alternate route, this actually is more prone to like clashing before it hits him. So you always got to keep that in mind. And so if he use his 5H then guard crush and then you choose to go for the DP, it will clash. So you got to be ready to throw out a fast button afterwards, just in case he tries to throw out another fast button. So yeah, that's just one thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with his guard crush. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the projectile. Now the projectile also has an exploitable gap, but it's not as noticeable as the guard crush. So I wouldn't recommend going for it because you could always, you know, the person can always bait your DP out doing this. And if you do your DP, he's going to be able to block in time and then punish you. So I wouldn't recommend trying to exploit this gap too often. I'll only exploit it like once or twice if you're feeling zesty, but I wouldn't really try to exploit this too much because, you know, it can always get baited out. And plus, even after that, like even if he throws the needle out, it's the end of his turn. So let's see. What was that? Okay, so like I was saying, once he uses needle, it pretty much signifies the end of his turn. Bedman has really slow normals. He doesn't really have a move that's fast enough to follow up after needle. Even if you use it at like a really far distance, it still could be like he doesn't have enough time to follow up. So like, say if we do this block string right here, right? You see how far away I am? I'm a pretty good distance away. You think it wouldn't be your turn to follow back up, but that's not the case. So just to give you an example. You still can punish it. You still got your 5S, and even if you use her at closer distance, that makes it even better. So if you run into an opponent that's like this close, it's better to use like 5H. But even at like extreme distances, you always can use your 5S to beat it. So you don't have to go for like these type of shenanigans when you fight in Bedman, or say he throws out his needle and does this. You don't have to go for it. There we go. Like I said, most of his moves are just really slow. So you can always take your turn back after needle. Okay, so that's pretty much it when it comes to his block string pressure. Well, his basic block string pressure. When it comes to that little guard crush loops, you gotta just take it. You gotta learn to defend against it. You gotta block it. It's nothing exploitable about it. Eventually it would be your turn. The only thing else I could suggest is whenever you're fighting Bedman, make sure you just save some meters so you can YRC just in case you're in that situation. But besides that, just his basic block string pressure, like before he gets anything rolling, you know how to exploit it. Okay, so next I'm gonna give y'all some tips on Bedman zoning. The funny thing about Bedman's projectiles is that while it does track your location, it doesn't really account for travel distance. So you could pretty much hop over or dodge his projectiles pretty much. So it just tracks your last known location. So if I was to stand here, I see the electricity come out, I could jump over it. And that's pretty much the major weakness when it comes to Bedman zoning and how you really want to get on them. So what I like to do is I like to block the needle and then I like to dodge the electricity, mainly because it's plus, but it's also visually, you could visually see the electricity coming out. And it also got like a little sound cue that you can use too. So for like headphone users, you can just pay attention to the sound, and as soon as you hear the electricity, that's when you know to jump upwards. So like I can just hear the sound cue, jump upwards. Actually, I'm gonna show you. I can do it with my eyes closed. So let me switch. Let me switch it. So okay. I don't even know if I was dodging it, but I'm pretty sure I dodged it. You let me know. So yeah, that's pretty much the rhythm you want to keep when you're getting in on them. So like 1 or 2 jumps, you could just pretty much get in on him if he's trying to zone you out. And then like I said, after the needle, that's why I always block the needle. After the needle, it's not his turn no more. So you could pretty much get in, block the needle, jump over the electricity, and then just get in like that. And that's pretty much how I deal with Bedman zoning. Now, if he tries to jump, do the electricity like in the air. So if they try to do that, what I like to do is, if I see him jump, I'll just go under him with the 236H. And that's pretty much what you want to do when you want to get on Bedman. Okay, so that's pretty much it when it comes to dealing with Bedman's basic block string pressure and his zoning. Now, this next section is just going to be me talking about how to deal with zoners in general, because the guy said he was struggling in a matchup where he has to go up against a zoner. So this next section is just going to be me talking and just give you general advice. This could be applied to all zoners. And the first tip I just want to give you is take a step back. You don't really need to rush in when you're fighting a zoner, and you kind of frustrate yourself if you just keep getting hit while you're trying to get on the zoner. It's not like they could do crazy amount of damage to you on the opposite side of stage. So you don't really need to rush while you're trying to get in. What I suggest you do is take a breather and then look for behavioral patterns. Now, this is what I like to do in each zoner match. I don't need to rush in immediately. I want to see how he tries to keep me out. I want to get like pieces. Like, that's the thing about zoners, is that they're always throwing out projectiles and they always give you a lot of information. You just miss it because you're always trying to get in. So if you take a step back and you say, oh, he threw out this move once, 2 times, 3 times, and then you take a mental note of it, that's how you can exploit your opponent. It's just by paying attention into the behavioral patterns of whom you're fighting. And that just could go in general, like with any character you're going up against, but mainly it's effective against zoners because most zoners, they practice they little they get into like a set play routine. And even me, like if you watch my gameplay, you'll see me do like a same setup once, 2, 3 times. It just becomes muscle memory at this time. So it's not like they could like try to change it on the fly. So if you're paying attention to someone's behavioral patterns and then you find an answer that exploit it, you can do it once, 2, 3 times, 4 times. And once you get the matchup downloaded, the matchup becomes a whole lot easier. Just like when I'm fighting Bedman, like I learned that from like fighting Bedman when he got released. I was like, all right, this is crazy. How can I get in? I gotta like get in, but he's constantly throwing projectiles at me. But I took a step back. I was like, oh, it is some weaknesses that I could exploit. Now that you know those weaknesses that you could exploit, know how the person is using them, know what rhythm he's getting into, or how he's constantly doing a certain move. And that's kind of how you just want to approach when you're fighting a zoner. Like I said, that's just a general advice. When you could even fight anybody, you always want to just pay attention to behavioral patterns, but specifically against zoners, you just want to take a step back and just analyze your opponent. But that'd be all for today. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Like I said, if you still got any video ideas, I've been going for a couple days. That's my bad. I was sick. I was really sick. I got really sick, and I just did not feel being on camera. I filmed one thing and I literally had to keep chopping it up, and I forgot where I left off because I kept coughing. I'm like, I'm not gonna leave this in the video. I can't just keep coughing and leave it in the video. But I kept coughing, and then when I go back to press the record button, I'm like, what the fuck was I talking about? So I'm not going to do that. I didn't want to do that, so I took a couple days off just to get my head right. But now I'm back, and so put those video requests down below. And like I said, if you already made a video request on a certain topic, you don't need to put it again. I'm going to cover everything. I didn't miss anybody. I just got to go down the line. With that being said, I'm gonna see you on the next video. Peace.